My parents gave my sister $100,000 for her dream house and called me the family failure. So I smiled quietly, said nothing, and kept the deed to the land she built it on that I actually owned. Welcome, family. If this story touches your heart, show some love by subscribing and letting us know where you're watching from. Now let's go on with the story. The champagne cork popped and everyone cheered. Everyone except me. I stood in my parents' living room, plastic smile frozen on my face, watching my younger sister Amber squeal as Daddy handed her an envelope. My mother dabbed her eyes with a tissue, beaming like Amber had just won the Nobel Prize. $100,000, Daddy announced, his chest puffed out. For our baby girl's dream house. My throat tightened. I'd worked 3 jobs to put myself through nursing school while Amber partied her way through a communications degree she never used. I'd bought my first car at 16 with money from cleaning houses. Amber got a brand new Lexus for her 21st birthday. This is what success looks like, Mama said, squeezing Amber's shoulders. She glanced at me. Some people just have that special something. The room suddenly felt smaller. Aunt Carol, Uncle Jerome, my cousins, they all looked everywhere but at me. I'd felt invisible in this family before, but this was different. This was intentional. And the best part? Amber's voice dripped with syrup. I found the perfect lot. It's near the new shopping district, great schools nearby for future kids. She winked at her fiancé Eugene, who smirked beside her. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly which lot she meant. Congratulations, I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Daddy finally looked at me. Maybe if you'd made better choices, Naomi, we could celebrate you too. But some of us are just destined to be the family failure. The words hit like a slap. 28 years of trying, proving, achieving, erased in one sentence. I smiled, nodded, and said nothing at all. Because I had a secret that would change everything. I left the party early, claiming a headache. Nobody protested. Driving home, my hands trembled on the steering wheel. The streetlights blurred through tears I refused to let fall in front of them. I'd learned that lesson young, never let them see you hurt. It only made the cruelty sharper. My mind drifted back to high school graduation. I'd finished valedictorian, earned a full scholarship to nursing school. Mama spent the entire ceremony on her phone, planning Amber's sweet 16. We already knew you'd do well, she'd said when I asked if she'd heard my speech. You're just that type, predictable. But Amber? When she barely scraped through with CS, they threw a party bigger than my graduation. She's got people skills, Daddy explained. That's worth more than book smarts. I pulled into my apartment complex, the modest one I'd saved for years to afford. Inside, I made chamomile tea and sat in the darkness, letting the memories flood. The time I won the regional nursing award and Mama canceled dinner because Amber had a cold. The promotion to head nurse that Daddy dismissed. Still just wiping bedsides though, right? The countless family photos where I was cropped out or forgotten entirely. My phone buzzed. Amber's text lit up the screen. Can you believe it? $100,000. We're gonna start building next month. Hope you're not too jealous, Al. I stared at those words. Too jealous. As if my feelings were a character flaw, something to be mocked. I walked to my bedroom closet, moved aside shoeboxes and pulled out a fireproof safe. Inside was a manila folder I hadn't opened in 5 years. The deed was still there. My name. My property. The land Amber wanted to build on. I'd bought it 6 years ago. 6 years earlier, I'd been working double shifts at the hospital, saving every penny. My coworker, an older nurse named Doreen, had pulled me aside one day. Girl, you're running yourself into the ground, she'd said, her kind eyes full of concern. What's all this extra money for? Independence, I told her simply. Doreen had nodded, understanding everything I didn't say. My nephew's a real estate agent. The city's expanding east industrial area now, but it won't be for long. Landscape. If you're smart and patient, you could make something of it. I'd met with her nephew Devin that weekend. He'd shown me tax maps, city planning documents, developmental projections. The area looked rough. Abandoned warehouses, overgrown lots, but the plans were clear. In 5 to 10 years this would be prime real estate. I'd used every cent of my savings, took out a careful loan, and bought 3 acres for $35,000. My family never knew. Why would they? They never asked about my life. The land sat empty while I paid it off slowly, steadily. I watched the city's development creep closer each year. New roads. Infrastructure improvements. Then came the announcement of the shopping district, the new school complex. My 3 acres became worth 10 times what I'd paid. Devin had called me last month, excited. "Naomi, you sitting down? I've got developers offering $300,000 for your land. This is it. This is your payday." I told him I'd think about it. Then yesterday I'd driven past the property and seen Amber's car parked there, her and Eugene walking the lot, pointing and planning. My lot. My investment. My future. She'd assumed it was available, probably saw it listed somewhere before I'd decided to sell. Now she had our parents' money and dreams that depended on land she didn't own. 3 days after the party, Mama called. "Family dinner Sunday. Don't be late." It wasn't an invitation, it was a summons. I showed up at 6 sharp, wondering what fresh humiliation awaited. The dining room table was covered with blueprints, fabric samples, paint chips. Amber sat at the head like royalty, Eugene beside her, both glowing with excitement. We wanted everyone to see the house plans. Amber announced as I sat down. "It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. 5 bedrooms, 4 baths, gourmet kitchen, the works." Daddy beamed. "Only the best for our successful daughter." The words, "our successful daughter," singular, hung in the air like poison. Amber spread out the blueprints. "See? The lot is perfect. Great bones, excellent location. We're meeting with the contractor next week to break ground." "Which lot exactly?" I asked quietly. "Oh, the one on Riverside and Miller intersection," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "It's been sitting empty forever. We got such a good deal on it." My heart started pounding. "What deal? Who'd you buy it from?" Amber laughed. "We haven't bought it yet. The agent said it's available. We're putting in an offer next week, but it's basically ours. Nobody else wants it." Uncle Jerome leaned forward. "That's good business sense right there. Finding value where others don't see it." I took a slow breath. "Amber, did you actually verify ownership? Check the deed records?" She rolled her eyes. "Why would I? The listing agent said it's ready to go." "God, Naomi, you always have to be so negative about everything. Can't you just be happy for me for once?" Mama's fork clattered against her plate. "She's right. This is Amber's moment. Why do you always try to dim her light?" I looked around the table. Every face showed the same expression, annoyance that I'd spoken at all. "I'm just asking questions," I said evenly. "Nobody wants your nursing school logic here," Daddy said. "This is about vision. Dreams. Things you wouldn't understand." I smiled and stayed silent for the rest of dinner, watching them plan a future built on land they didn't realize was already gone. Monday morning, Devin called while I was finishing my shift at the hospital. "Naomi, we've got a situation," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "Someone put in an offer on your property. Well, tried to. They're working with another agent who didn't do proper due diligence. I had to inform them the land's not actually available for purchase. It's privately owned. By you." My exhaustion from a 12-hour shift evaporated. "Who made the offer?" "An Amber Richardson. Says she's pre-approved for a construction loan, has a $100,000 down payment from family. Her agent's furious because apparently she's been showing the property for weeks without checking ownership records. Sloppy work." I closed my eyes. "What happens now?" "Well, technically nothing. The land's yours. But..." Devin paused. "Naomi, this Amber person, she related to you?" "Same last name." "My sister." A long silence. Then, "Oh damn. Listen, I can handle this professionally. Send a standard notification that the property's not for sale, owned by another party. I don't have to mention it's you." I thought about it. About the blueprints on the dining table. About Amber's confidence, Mama's pride, Daddy's dismissive cruelty. About 28 years of being invisible. "No," I said softly. "Let them know who owns it. All of it. Every detail. You sure? Family stuff can get messy. I remembered Daddy's words. Some of us are just destined to be the family failure. I'm sure, I said. Send the documentation. Official notification. Everything. Devon whistled low. All right. It's your property, your call. Documentation goes out today. I hung up and sat in my car in the hospital parking lot. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Texts flooding in from Amber, Mama, even cousins I hadn't heard from in months. I turned off my phone. The storm was coming and I was ready. The banging on my apartment door started at 7 in the morning. I'd just gotten home from a night shift, barely had time to shower. Naomi, open this door right now. Mama's voice, shrill with rage. I pulled on my robe and opened the door to find my entire family on my doorstep. Mama, Daddy, Amber with mascara-streaked cheeks, Eugene looking murderous, even Uncle Jerome and Aunt Carol. How could you? Amber shrieked, shoving past me into my apartment. How could you do this to me? Do what? I asked calmly, though my heart hammered. Daddy waved papers in my face. You own that land. You've owned it this whole time and said nothing. You never asked, I said simply. Don't you get smart with me? His voice boomed. We're your family. You should have told us. Mama's face twisted with disgust. I always knew you were selfish, but this is evil, Naomi. Pure evil. I stood there in my small living room, surrounded by people who'd never once asked about my life, my dreams, my accomplishments. People who'd spent decades making me feel worthless. I bought that land 6 years ago, I said quietly. With my own money. My own hard work. Nobody in this family ever asked what I was doing with my life or my savings. You were all too busy celebrating Amber. That's not the point. Amber sobbed. The point is you knew I wanted it. You knew we were planning to build there. I knew last week, I corrected. When you announced it at the party. But the land's been mine for 6 years. Eugene stepped forward, his jaw clenched. So sell it to us. We'll pay fair market value. It's worth $300,000 now, I said. That's market value. The room went silent. 300. Amber's voice broke. We don't have that. We have the 100,000 and the loan approval. I nodded. I know. So you're saying no? You're sabotaging my dream house. Her voice rose to a wail. I looked at each face, angry, accusatory, entitled. I'm saying the land is mine, I said. What I do with it is my decision. Your decision? Daddy's laugh was harsh. You don't get to make decisions that hurt this family. Something inside me snapped. Hurt this family. This family. My voice rose for the first time. You called me the family failure in front of everyone. You've spent my entire life making me feel worthless. And now you're angry because I own something valuable? We invested in Amber because she deserved it. Mama shot back. She has potential. A future. And I don't. The words ripped from my throat. I put myself through nursing school. I work 60-hour weeks saving lives. I bought property when I was 22 years old with money I earned myself. But none of that matters because I'm not Amber. You've always been jealous of your sister, Aunt Carol interjected. This is just petty revenge. I turned to her, this woman who'd watched me be diminished my whole life and never said a word. I worked 3 jobs at 16, I said, my voice shaking. I bought my own clothes, my own car, paid my own way through everything. While Amber got handed everything on a silver platter. Where was my $100,000? Where was my celebration? Where was my family being proud of me? We are proud of you, Mama said, but her voice lacked conviction. You don't need the same support Amber does. Because I'm strong? I laughed bitterly. Or because it's easier to ignore me? Amber's face hardened, tears drying. You know what? You're just bitter because you're alone. No man, no life, just work in this sad little apartment. I have Eugene, I have a future, I have a family that loves me. The cruelty in her voice was crystalline, intentional. And I have land worth $300,000, I said quietly. Land you need. Land you can't have. Eugene grabbed Amber's arm. Come on, baby. We don't need her land. We'll find somewhere else. But everyone in that room knew the truth. That location was perfect. Everything else was compromise. They left in a fury of slammed doors and shouted threats. I sat alone in the silence, shaking, finally understanding that I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. I called in sick for the first time in 3 years. I couldn't face anyone, couldn't pretend to be okay. Doreen showed up at my door that evening with soup and sweet tea. Devon told me what happened, she said, settling onto my couch like she'd been invited. He's my nephew, remember? And baby, you look like you've been through a war. I told her everything. The party, the confrontation, the years of being second best, invisible, dismissed. Doreen listened, nodding occasionally, her weathered hands wrapped around her tea mug. Let me tell you something, she said when I finished. I had a sister like yours. Beautiful, charming, could talk her way into or out of anything. My mama loved her best. Never said it, but we all knew. I spent 40 years trying to earn what my sister got just by existing. What happened? I asked. She died, Doreen said bluntly. Car accident 12 years ago. And you know what my mama said at the funeral? She said, at least I still have Doreen. Not, I'm grateful for Doreen. Not, I love Doreen. Just, at least I still have the backup daughter. My chest ached for her. That's when I realized, Doreen continued, that some people will never see your value. Not because you lack it, but because they've built their whole identity around elevating someone else. Your parents made Amber their masterpiece. You were just the frame. So what do I do? My voice cracked. You decide what you want, she said firmly. Not what hurts them, not what helps them, not what makes them finally see you. What do you want with that land? I'd been so focused on the betrayal, the validation of being right, that I hadn't actually considered the question. I don't know anymore, I admitted. Doreen squeezed my hand. Then figure it out. But baby, make sure whatever you decide you can live with it. Because family will haunt you forever if you let them. She left me with more questions than answers, but for the first time I felt like someone understood. A week passed in tense silence. I went back to work, threw myself into patient care, tried not to think about my phone's endless notifications that I'd muted. Then Eugene showed up at the hospital. He waited in the parking lot, leaning against his car like he had all the time in the world. When I approached, he straightened, hands raised in peace. Just hear me out, he said. Please. Against my better judgment, I stopped. Amber's devastated, he began. She's been planning this house since we got engaged. It's all she talks about, dreams about. This whole thing, it's breaking her. And I kept my voice neutral. And I'm asking you person to person to reconsider. I know your family's treated you badly. I've seen it honestly. The way they talk to you about you, it's messed up. But Amber, she didn't choose how she was raised. None of us do. His words were carefully chosen, almost rehearsed. Did they send you? I asked. He had the grace to look embarrassed. Amber doesn't know I'm here. Your parents would lose it if they knew I was talking to you. But look, I love her. I want to build a life with her. That land, it's perfect. The schools, the location, everything. Even it's my land. I bought it with money I earned. I know, he said quickly. And I respect that. I do. So here's what I'm proposing. Sell it to us for what you paid. $35,000. You don't lose anything and we get the house Amber's been dreaming about. I stared at him. You want me to give up $265,000 in equity? Money that represents 6 years of sacrifice and smart investing? So Amber can have her dream house. I'm asking you to be the bigger person, he said. To show your family who you really are. And there was the implication that refusing made me small, petty, vindictive. I've spent my whole life being the bigger person, I said softly. Where did that get me? Eugene's expression hardened. So this is revenge. You're going to destroy her happiness because you're bitter. I walked away without another word. But his visit left me unsettled, questioning everything. 2 days later, Mama showed up alone. No screaming, no accusations. She stood at my door looking smaller, somehow older. When I let her in, she sat delicately on my couch, hands folded in her lap. "I've been thinking," she said quietly, "about what you said. About how we've treated you." Hope flickered in my chest, dangerous and painful. "Maybe we did take you for granted," she continued. "You were always so capable, so independent. Amber needed more guidance, more support. You understand that, don't you?" The hope died. "No, Mama," I said. "I don't understand. Needing guidance doesn't mean giving one child everything and the other nothing. It doesn't mean calling one child a failure in front of the whole family." Her face tightened. "Your father was drunk. He didn't mean it. He said it sober too. In different words, but the same message. My whole life." Mama's composure cracked. "What do you want from us, Naomi? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We're sorry. Now will you sell Amber the land?" "That's not an apology," I said. "That's a transaction." "Everything's a transaction," she snapped, her true feelings surfacing. "You think family is about feelings? It's about doing what's right for the family unit. Amber and Eugene are starting a family. They need this. You're alone. You don't need a 3-acre property. You could take the 35,000, make a profit, and everyone wins. I'd be losing $265,000. You'd be gaining your family's respect." Mama stood, her voice rising. "You'd finally be part of something bigger than yourself. But no, you'd rather sit here in your little apartment, clutching your deed, feeling superior." Superior. I stood too, trembling with rage. I've never felt superior to anyone in this family. I've felt invisible. Worthless. Like my accomplishments meant nothing because they weren't Amber's accomplishments. "Because you're selfish." Mama's mask fully dropped. "Everything has to be about you, your feelings, your hurts. Amber never complains. She's grateful, loving, easy. You're hard, Naomi. You've always been hard." The words landed like stones. "Get out," I whispered. "Gladly," she said, grabbing her purse. "But when Amber's dream dies because of your spite, you remember this moment. You remember choosing your ego over your sister." She slammed the door behind her. I collapsed onto the couch and finally let myself cry. I stopped answering calls. Stopped reading texts. Went to work, came home, existed in a fog. Then Amber showed up at the hospital. She cornered me during my break in the quiet room where nurses went to decompress. I tried to leave, but she blocked the door. "We need to talk," she said. "Move, Amber. Not until you hear me." Her eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. "Naomi, please. I'm begging you. Sell me the land." "No." "Why?" Her voice cracked. "Why are you doing this? Is it because of things our parents said? Things I said? I'll apologize. I'll get on my knees right now and apologize for everything." He actually started to kneel. I grabbed her arm. "Don't," I said. "Don't perform for me. It's not a performance." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm desperate. You're my sister. How can you watch me suffer like this?" I looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, I saw past the golden child facade to something real, genuine anguish. "How did you watch me suffer?" I asked quietly. "All those years. Every dismissal, every comparison, every time they chose you over me? Where were you then? I didn't know it hurt you. I thought you didn't care." Didn't care. My laugh was hollow. "Or you didn't want to see. Because seeing would mean acknowledging you benefited from my pain." Amber's face crumpled. "So this is punishment? You're punishing me for being loved." "No," I said, exhausted. "I'm protecting myself. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. And I'm keeping what's mine. Even if it destroys me," she whispered. I thought about every time I'd been destroyed and nobody cared. Every time I'd cried alone, celebrated alone, existed alone while they all revolved around her. "Yes," I said. "Even then." She stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. "I'll never forgive you for this," she said, her voice cold. "Join the club," I replied. "I've been unforgivable my whole life." She left and I sat in the quiet room, wondering if I'd just won or lost everything. 3 weeks later, Devon called with news. The developers are increasing their offer, he said. 350,000. They want to build a mixed-use complex, retail and residential. It's a solid opportunity, Naomi. I sat in my car outside the hospital watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. There's something else, Devon continued. I've been doing some research. That shopping district going in? The development plans? Turns out your father's company did the civil engineering survey work. He knew about the development 18 months ago. My blood went cold. What are you saying? I'm saying your dad knew that land would be valuable. Knew it before the public announcements. And I'm willing to bet that's why Amber suddenly found that perfect lot. They were hoping to snatch it up cheap before word spread. The pieces clicked into place. Amber's confidence. The timeline. The certainty that it would be available. They tried to use insider knowledge to steal my investment out from under me. Devon, I need to think about all this. Take your time, he said. But Naomi? Whatever you decide, make sure it's for you. Not against them. I drove to the property that night. Stood on the empty land under the stars, remembering the 22-year-old version of myself who'd taken this leap of faith. She'd been brave. Determined. Believed in her own future when nobody else did. What would she want me to do now? My phone rang. Baby, I heard about your daddy's involvement, she said without preamble. And I'm calling to remind you that you don't owe people who tried to manipulate you a damn thing. I know, I said. Do you? Because I hear that tone in your voice. That maybe I should be the bigger person tone. And I'm here to tell you that being the bigger person doesn't mean making yourself smaller. I closed my eyes, felt the wind on my face, and made my decision. I called a family meeting. Everyone came, probably expecting me to finally cave. We met at a neutral location. A coffee shop, public, safe. I brought Devon and his documentation. I'm selling the land, I announced. Amber's face lit up with hope. Mama reached for Daddy's hand. Eugene leaned forward eagerly. To the developers, I continued. For $350,000. The hope died spectacularly. But before I do, I want to say something. I looked at each of them. I know Daddy knew about the development. I know you all tried to get that land using information he had access to professionally. You weren't trying to support Amber's dream. You were trying to make money off my investment. Daddy's face flushed. That's not. It is, I said firmly. And I'm done. I'm done fighting for scraps of love from people who'll never give it. I'm done being the responsible one, the invisible one, the failure. So you're choosing money over family, Mama said bitterly. No, I said. I'm choosing myself. For once. I slid an envelope across the table to Amber. There's $35,000 in there. What I originally paid for the land. Consider it my wedding gift. Find another lot. Build your house. But leave me out of it. Amber opened the envelope, stared at the check, then looked at me with something like understanding. I'm not doing this to hurt you, I said softly. I'm doing this to save myself. I stood ready to leave. Amber's voice stopped me. Naomi, wait. He sounded different. Smaller, sadder. You're right. About all of it. We used you. I let them use you because it was easier than standing up to them. And I'm sorry. Really sorry. I looked at her, this sister I'd loved and resented in equal measure. I believe you, I said. But sorry doesn't fix 28 years. Maybe one day, but not today. I walked out of that coffee shop with my head high, Devon beside me. 3 months later, I signed the sale papers. The money hit my account. More than I'd ever imagined having. I paid off my apartment, bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood, and set up a scholarship fund for nursing students from struggling families. I learned that Amber and Eugene found another property. Smaller, less perfect, but theirs. Mama and Daddy never spoke to me again. Extended family took sides, mostly not mine. But Doreen threw me a party. My coworkers celebrated with me. I made new friends, built new traditions, created a life that was wholly, completely mine. Sometimes late at night, I wonder what would have happened if I'd sold them the land. If I'd been the bigger person one more time. But then I remember, I'd spent my whole life being bigger while making myself smaller. I chose myself. And even though it cost me my family, even though holidays are quiet now, even though I still ache with the loneliness of being unloved by the people who should have loved me most, I'd make the same choice again. Because the biggest lesson I learned wasn't about land or money or revenge. It was that you can't make people value you. You can only value yourself. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who will never see your worth, even when those people are family. I drive past that development sometimes. See the shops, the restaurants, the beautiful complex that stands where my empty acres once waited. I smile knowing I made it happen. Knowing I believed in that land before anyone else did. Knowing I finally believed in myself. Thank you so much for watching this emotional journey. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose yourself. Drop a comment telling me your thoughts. I read every single one. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and celebration whether your family sees it or not. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Self-worth cannot be granted by others, only recognized by yourself. The people who are supposed to love you unconditionally sometimes won't. And that's a reflection of their limitations, not your value. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Sometimes the family you need isn't the one you were born into, but the one you build through your choices, your strength, and your unwavering belief in your own worth.